This is the Electric Bike Action Podcast, devoted to all things on two wheels, and sometimes three, with an electric motor. Electric Bike Action Magazine is a print and digital magazine that reviews bikes and shares the latest news about e-bikes. I'm Tony Donaldson, the editor of the magazine and the host of this podcast. Be sure to give us a thumbs up and, if you like, a review to help us reach more people. You can also check out our website, electricbikeaction.com, and check out our Facebook page and Instagram account. Jan Talavasek is a name that not many people may recognize, but Jan is the Senior Director of Turbo Innovation at Specialized Bicycle Components. This means that if you ride an e-bike with the electrical components integrated inside, it was Jan and his team of engineers at Specialized that led the way in the bike industry by creating and setting the highest standard for how e-bikes should look, ride, and feel. Alex has known Jan for many years in a professional capacity and follows his and his team's product development and ideas closely as they evolve the e-bike market. We caught up with Jan for a lighthearted chat about e-bikes, innovation, and what the future has in store for all of us as riders and users of electric transportation. Jan is a passionate mountain biker and rider of all forms of bicycles, and he tells us everything that they make, ultimately, they make it for themselves first. Without further ado, here's the interview between Alex and Jan.
Is that I am so big. What do you want? I can give you any background in this room.
You should have a whiteboard with a secret project written on
it. Give me the name of the secret project. What shall we write on the wall?
Well, we got Creo, Turbo, Vado. Let's call it.
It's Levo 6.0.
Yes, there we go. Put that in the background.
Faster, slacker, more trail. What else do we want?
200 mil suspension.
Unlimited range. 7-meter suspension. I'm just checking if this is a permanent marker or not.
Yeah, put that in the background. That's brilliant.
I added a steering aid motor.
Oh, that's perfect. Yes, that's good. That's it. That's what we want. Oh, there we go.
I'm only going to show it a little bit. Just I occasionally do this. I can play with that.
So I've got some questions, but they're very general.
Nice. I'm not prepared. I prepared myself the last 20 years. I can talk.
It's a chat, so it's nothing specific. Because so let me just say, I mean, I've known you for ages, Jan. Let's start. I've known you for ages, Jan. You're like, to me, you are the Specialized electric bike. I know you've got a huge team that works with you. So let's start from that. And people who want to know who you are, I mean, you know, you also have a partner who works with you, i.e. Marco. So, you know, you two together are like the brains.
An old couple.
Yeah, you are the brains.
Spent more time with Marco than I spent with my wife.
So I should have to do an interview or a podcast with Marco at some point, but maybe we'll get the alternative side of the story. But the point is that you're like, I mean, you guys together, essentially the brains behind the whole Turbo Levo project.
Yes and no.
Right?
I typically say I'm just the clown on the stage. There is an army of people in the background that actually do the hard work. And I don't know if Marco likes hearing that, but I would add him to the same specification. The two of us, we are the people that are more visible to the outside. What certainly we have a vision. I would consider us doing a lot of the architecture of the product, and in terms of execution. We have a fantastic team here. We have now, just in CAM, we're 75 people right now. So Marco and I, I would consider us architects behind the products. Having that said, there's many other people. That's the beauty about Specialized these days. We have a global setup of different teams, of different innovation labs. We have a lot of composite knowledge in Freiburg, Germany. We're having a lot of tremendous amount, just core mountain bike knowledge and geometry, braking performance, suspension performance, etc. Sitting in Morgan Hill and in Auburn. We have a extremely well established manufacturing team over in Asia. Without a combination of all of these, we could not do a product like a Levo. Levo is not good because of us specifying battery size and putting the display in the top tube. That's just one ingredient in that menu. We just happen to be a bunch of cooks, and we just I think what we're doing well is all the teams, all the people that are working on this, we're driven by our own passion. We're just riders. I mean, I often say I enjoy primarily designing products for my own use, and we're in the luxury situation where we sell it to customers as well.
It's like a surfboard shaper from the 60s and 70s.
Yes.
It's like it just made these boards and everybody liked them, so they went out and bought them.
But it's to be dead honest, the recipe, and others feel free to copy. If you do really things because you believe in it and you're doing it by heart and you're doing it for yourself, the outcome will be a product that easily outperforms any other product that is driven by the market segments represents X amount of $1 million. We need to have 10% market share. Let's do a marketing analysis. Yes, Bosch owns it here, Yamaha has here, the competition has 650 watt hours, we need 651, blah, blah, blah. If you follow down that rabbit hole, you lose. Seriously, you lose. You cannot win.
Sounds like Apple going on here. It's like the same thing as Apple. Is that right?
It sounds like, personally,
Tesla. Maybe.
I'm an Apple customer. I'm a Tesla customer. I don't know the company from the inside very well, but yes, I mean, it's the same approach. You just ignore the market around you and you just do what you think is right. Historically, by doing that, we've done a lot of mistakes. It is typically the challenging path. It's the difficult one, but we like challenging, or we like challenges that helps us to separate us as well. And but also, as much as we benefit from the separation, I think the separation automatically happens by us doing things the way we want it to be, because we're and I'm just saying that we're in the lucky situation that a lot of the competitors are doing the market analysis. But if you analyze the market, you're getting the status quo of today. Nobody tells you what the market will be in 5 years, but we're designing today bikes that we're riding in 5 years. So if you want to design bikes for the next 5 years at Specialized, we go and ride.
Yeah.
Instead of going to doing market analysis and benchmarking.
Well,
yes, we do this as well. In many other categories, it's very important.
Yeah. I've been there at lunchtime with you guys. So people should know that we've been riding and doing stuff over the years. Different, always work related, but I've been there, and you'll go for a lunch ride. And does that happen every day, or?
I would say almost every day. The days we're not riding is when the weather is really miserable, like miserable. Having that said, now even at miserable times, people go out and ride. I mean, it's just a matter of apparel. And why do we ride at lunch? I mean, it's the majority of the team members here are bike riders. It's fun to be out. But also, we encourage people to go out and ride because we're test products. Yeah. There's a lot of, you can buy the fanciest test machine, but all they do is they cycle the same thing. They test something that you already know before. Otherwise, you would not tell the machine to test this. Yeah. By riding, and you experience so much more that a test machine or a specific test criteria would never give you. At the same thing, like And it's in terms of how do you trigger innovation? How do you trigger really thoughtful conversations? You can read books about it. It's not happening in a meeting room. You have to go outside. You have to just get the blood moving in your body. You need some fresh oxygen in your brain. So the best conversations we are having outside. Just yesterday, I have one of the senior product managers, Joe Buckley from Morgan Hill, head of the Levo category. He's actually here. We moved our conversation into a mountain hut. So we just rode the Levo for an hour to go in the hut. We had lunch there. We just talked there.
You said you rode the Levo. Is that the current Levo or the one that's coming?
Yes, I rode the Levo.
Sorry, I'm always joking with you about the latest products and stuff.
The question on that bike, is it purple? Is it red? Or what? It's weird.
It's just a new color. That's all you do, yeah. New
it's actually a production color, but whenever I name the color, people point me out. No, it's red. No, it's purple. Anyway.
You don't have a paparazzi outside. Do you have paparazzi outside your office who sit there trying to take photos, spies from magazines, capture you on your next excursion and what you're doing? So actually, that brings me to the question. So we've already answered my first question.
Nice.
So what was your most innovative product then?
Wow.
It could be the whole bike. It could be a part. I don't know. What do you reckon?
Okay. Looking back, I think the best move we have done is starting Levo without Levo being a project. The company has never asked us to do mountain bikes. It was not a project. We were busy doing other things. And that was the luxury situation of us being a little isolated office in Switzerland. We just looked at us and say, now we have all the ingredients together to build a bike where we believe this works, and we've just done it. That is not what you have asked. But if I just look back of what was the biggest, one of the most important decisions was actually just to do it. Like, don't ask for permission, just go for it. Yeah. When you look at on the innovation level, there's endless things, and just it starts with, and it sounds trivial, but just removing displays from handlebars. It's just like taking away this. But I'm just last week we were talking again. Some may remember AutoSag. Do you know what AutoSag is? Yes. So AutoSag is actually, I've got my name on the patent. I think it's like, if you purely look at patents, one of the patents that I'm proud of the most is probably AutoSag.
So the people who don't know,
I still think it's very, very valid.
What AutoSag is. So specialized bikes, not all of them. I don't think they all come with it, but some of them still might do. I don't know. But they used to come with that. Basically, it was the rear shock. You sit on it, you pump it up pretty hard, you sit on it, you then press a valve on the left or right, depending on which side, and it will let the air out to the set 25%, 30% sag.
Preset sag.
Yeah, and then you take your finger off it.
You're done.
It's set. Now, I found it to be pretty accurate, but at the same time, as a professional rider, no, I'm just joking. But basically, I would have to, if I put on a few more kilos, I would then have to pump it up a little bit.
Yes, I mean, it gets you to a 90% setup within no time. And from there, you just tune if you know. But the majority of the riders out there, for them, the setup is like, it's perfectly fine.
That's the point. If you look at the mass market, and you look at how precise the average rider is, it's more accurate than they would probably achieve by just a pump. So, especially because most people are on their own and they're setting out on their own. They don't have somebody to measure with a ruler and all these kind of things. That if you go with a professional suspension setup.
Coming back to Apple and Tesla, imagine you have to set up your phone according to your finger length and etc. It's like, that would be stupid. Or when you buy a car, you have to set up your suspension, and I'm going even further, you have to pump up the tires every other week. We expect this from our customers. With the increase on the customer field, with all the new people coming into the sport because the product allows it, we have to change our mind, and we have to, how do we educate the riders, and also how do we design products that are suitable for the masses? Because like for you and I, and probably a lot of the audience here, they know everything better than anybody else in the world, how to set up tires and suspension, etc., saddle height and handlebar width and grip orientation and so on. But yeah, it's not so trivial. We've all educated ourselves over many years on how to do this. Luckily, we have still very many good dealers that actually do this job for you right now.
This is one of the strengths of the company you work at. So if we look at the bike market as a whole, we probably say, and I've heard the competitors say this, so I can tell you this, the specialized education for customer and dealer is probably one. And you know, if you walk in as a customer with no idea what you're going to buy, you could walk into any specialized shop and they'll probably put you on a retool system and check out, so they can tell you exactly what bike, which setup, whatever style of bike you're looking for. You know, they'll give you that, and that's something which not very many companies do or know how to do. I mean, there are a few out there that do that, but not that many, not like specialized. And it's something, you haven't even bought the bike yet, you can just go in and ask, you know. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's we're coming from a world where we just put products in the shop and just see what happens, and then people accidentally buy the wrong product because they're not educated to that a different product would have suited them better. They're using the product wrong. They're sitting with the wrong saddle height. They're sitting with the wrong reach. I was joking about the grip orientation, but how many people have hand issues, shoulder issues, elbow issues because of that setup? And we want the customers to have a great experience, and the actual physical product is just a fraction of it. The whole package is so important.
That system isn't that you guys came up with, the retool and all the measuring and doing all of this. Didn't it sort of discover that there wasn't really a need for gender-specific bikes? You could just end up with because it was just literally, it was so similar that you could just have whatever bike you felt like.
You can do there is a need for person-specific setup,
yeah,
but not a gender-specific physical product on a bike level.
Yeah, exactly. So that was an important decision you made, because if you look at your whole product brand now, it doesn't really matter what it's literally, you could choose the frame color and then it'll fit your whatever you
make
like.
the adjustments, and also there is the human touch points. We're talking saddle, we're talking grips and saddle and shoes, pedals and shoes. Those are the ones that you can adjust, but those are the ones you can easily adjust on a bike level at a sales floor. And that's where I just encourage everybody for a performance product, go through the exercise. Have yourself measured, have yourself put on the bike correctly. I can relate to that. I have, as a junior, I was an unsuccessful bike racer because of lack of fitness, but I have fun. I had massive.
That's not true. You're really fit. I've ridden next to you.
Okay, if I was fit, then others were fitter. Anyway, but where I'm trying to go is I had massive knee pain for like 10, 15 years.
Oh, really?
I was struggling with knee pain. I went to all the doctors I could imagine, and every other doctor, I would say all the doctors told me to stop riding. I'm like, that's not going to work. When I started working for Specialized 17 and a half years ago, I did one of those setup sessions. And it turns out that I'm like, my feet are like duck feet. And they just put me in a correct pedal angle. And back in the days, we had pedal extensions, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Solved. I'm free of pain right now, just because I was put correctly on a bike. To me, it was like eye-opening.
Maybe you could just ride flat pedals like Sam Hill.
I can't stand. Like I tried for 2 years. But coming back to the very beginning, it's the whole experience of the human interface, the adjustment, and I'm circling back to electric bikes. It's also the education is torque and watt hours and Newton meter and how do I use this? So I just want to ride. I just want to ride for 2 hours. If you just buy a bike these days, you want to go for 2 hours. Most people are just, okay, I guess I try an eco and then I see where it goes and I try in sport or trail mode and, oh, turbo, that consumes a lot. But that is where we have done a tremendous job and we continue to invest to help people to easier understand the product and easier use the product.
I mean, something that I've been focusing on now when I'm talking to people about the power modes, range and all that stuff, I'd say to people, well, I just use the power mode for how I feel that day. So if I'm tired, I'll put it in turbo mode and I'll still ride the same distance. And if I'm feeling strong and fit and I want to improve my fitness train that day, I'll put it in eco or with a specialized bike. When I have them, I can just do it so you can have an automatic, does it automatically, so you can set your range. I mean, yeah, it's a good point. It's simplification. I mean, that brings me actually to my next question, which is really good segue. So what's happening in general to e-bike design? Here we go. There's the question.
I mean, that's a very broad question. What's happening?
You guys are the leaders. I want to say this. Sorry, I'm not a specialized fanboy, but I am, because I'm a fanboy of all bike companies, really.
Yes.
But it's like, but you guys really set the tone for how design is with integration, etc. So, I mean, is it just going to keep evolving? Because Trek, for example, just came out with their FVX, EX, whatever it's called, EX1E, and
Super nice bike.
And it looks incredible, and it has the same impact as the first Turbo Levo that I saw came out when I first saw it, and it's innovation. But at the same time, it's competition. So you guys will obviously, you're all very respectful of each other across the brands. You all know each other, so it's like, I assume it's kind of a few years after what you've already done. So
that happens. Okay. Your original question went somewhere else, but that happens often when we go really disruptive into the market. And I would say the SL category was some disruption. We're triggering a wave.
Yeah.
Typically, it takes a company 2.5, 3 years to develop a product, specifically with the complexity, new motors, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So when we do something, typically we see the market reaction 2.5 to 3 years later. And that's what's happening right now. All the SL bikes that are popping out in the market, we did expect this to happen.
They're even called SL. They're all called SL.
Yeah, it's nice. They're all called SL.
So it's like, that's the
funny?
magic formula for marketing. Make your name the marketing. It's like Scotch or sellotape or sticky tape or whatever it is, you know?
Yeah, so isn't that funny? We have customers, they go in shops, they want the Levo. They don't even know that Specialized is the brand. They think Levo is the brand.
High Bike did that in America, actually, for many years. They were just like, I want a high bike. That became like associated with e-bikes. It's good.
That's brilliant.
Says, I want a Bosch.
You've asked the question of where e-bike design goes. I would say when we started 10 years ago designing properly designed e-mountain bikes, let's focus on e-mountain bikes here.
Yeah.
There was low-hanging fruit. Because before the trekking bike category, etc., and all the knobby tire bikes, they were just experiments. But I would say we were amongst the first, if not the first, to take a serious approach. What if we would design an e-mountain bike? And that was the Levo when we came out in the very beginning. There's a lot of really, really nice products now in the market. There's a lot of really good e-mountain bikes in the market. So the question is that more like, okay, who builds the best mountain bike? The question is more, where will this all go? Travel, geometry, SL category versus full bikes. Is SL just the little tailwind that is enough to get you over the hill? Is it just enough to a little more playful bike? Or is the SL category suffering from, I can do more than the competitor, 10 Newton meter more, 10 Newton meter more. We're already talking about SL bikes with 60, 70 Newton meters, 600 watt hour battery. If we continue going down that road, we're actually in 3-4 years, SL and big bikes, there's the same power. So in this range, there's that playground. There's many options, and that I think is these days making the challenge for us and the whole market. Where do we develop, and where do we think power, weight, rideability, etc. In what direction are we going? But I'm coming back to what I said in the very beginning, the fact that the majority of our global team are riders. We're making the right decisions.
Because when you go to Morgan Hill and you go at lunchtime, head office of Specialized, apart from this massive complex of buildings, at lunchtime you just see like literally looks like a peloton, off they go.
They don't have rain. It's California.
They go off in a peloton of riders all off in one direction. You're like, wow, that's a lot of people. And that's just the roadies. So I assume there's mountain bikers as well.
Same thing. We've just established another, actually a separate mountain office in Auburn, California, like 2 hours north, because there's mountain bike trails just outside of the door. So you can actually, at lunch, you can go testing. But yes, we're riding, and very often the decision of where to go is made on the trail.
Yeah.
And one of the sayings, and we stick to it, we say the rider is the boss.
Yeah.
It's not marketing, it's not sales in terms of financial, etc. It's not Mike Sinyard, it's not Scott McGuire, who's our new CEO, etc. The rider. We're just, when making those decisions, we have the rider in mind. And not just because of this is cheaper or this is easier to make, we go for this.
That's perfect to answer my next question. This is flowing really well, Jan. So my next question was to say, how much does physics place limits on design, or is it the cost? So for example, if I'm the rider and I say, oh, I want this, why does my camera just gone?
They go to fisheye. You look funny.
Hang on a minute. Oh, because it switched mode to photo mode. So annoying.
Photo or fisheye.
Hang on a minute. Let me just say something.
It looked at you sitting in a cathedral.
Okay, and it'll switch back. There we go.
Okay.
It's like not the ideal web camera.
So your question was, the limitation, is it physics or cost?
Yeah.
I guess that's a different to who you ask. At Specialized, physics, 100% physics. We don't care. I don't want to say we don't care about the cost, but if we can make a product better, a true rider benefit, we're doing it. And
because that comes from the rider. Because I could say to you, I mean, I said to you in the beginning, when can you do this, this, and this, and this? And you said to me, you didn't really answer because obviously you're thinking about the same thing. So that tells me that, you know, physics is the limitation, really, in an ideal world. But not all companies will do that, because I remember riding with another bike company. I said, well, why don't you do this, this, and this? And the guy was looking at me like kind of sad that I'd said it. And then I went and test rode your bike and you'd already done it. And I was just like, oh.
Well, okay, I'm going to add another thing. Physics is a limit, and also we're limited by the amount of resources we have.
Yeah.
We have only a limited amount of people, limited amount of resources. So we need to be extremely smart. And what do we focus on, and where do we say no? So of course, we often say internally, we don't have an innovation problem, we don't have an idea problem. Our challenge is our appetite to do things is too big. So we're often getting ourselves in trouble because we're starting too many things. Physics. If this can be done, and it's just damn expensive, we're doing it.
So that brings me to the next question, really, which is, where are we at in motor and battery technology? If we were to say, so I used to kite surf, and I was talking to a wing designer, and he said currently we're at 25% efficiency. This was back in like 2008 with wing design. So that meant that they could make the kites 3/4 smaller to get the same lift as what they were doing then, if they had 100% efficient system. So my question is, where are we at on the sort of scale of where motors and batteries can be, like say, yeah, in 10 years, 20 years, who knows? But where are we at now? Are we at 20%? Where's 100%? What's the, what do you reckon?
If you look at the whole bicycle, we have a human power and we have a battery as a power source. And we're putting that through various things through the bike onto the rear wheel. Somebody call me out. I would say in best cases, we're at like 70%.
Okay.
I would say so. Well, yes, the human factor in terms of you actually look at what you eat and what you get to the muscles, the body is not that good. Isn't that we actually have like a 25% efficiency of the body? We eat too much and we don't get the muscles to work. Anyway, let's look at just focus on battery to rear wheel. Cell ingredient, lithium ion to the rear wheel. Good drive units right now operate at roughly 80%, add some losses in the chain, add some losses on the battery, and et cetera, anywhere from 70 to 80%. Ignore the human factor for a moment. But here's what I'm telling you. Motors and batteries, at some point, it doesn't matter anymore. Is it important what's in here? It's just as long as it's lasting long enough.
Yeah.
And it's doing what you're supposed to do, it's becoming commodity. Just it's the age that we're in right now, that people still shop for watt-hour capacity and brand of the motor because they've written something about the specific motor, will come to an end. And I'm really thankful for that because it will happen. We're going back to, on a vehicle, on the experience level, I want to go out on a trail ride. I'm typically doing these and these trails. I'm riding X amount of hours, etc. And we're like, this is the product for you, and it does the job for you. And then it doesn't matter how exactly it's built on the inside. I'm deadly convinced we will see this transition from purchasing motors to purchasing experience again in the next couple of years.
Yeah, because I suppose the phone market has gone that way, like the original iPhone to now. I mean, I stopped really paying attention since iPhone 7 to iPhone 15 now. Like they do the same job. They do everything. And like, I mean, so I realized that, yeah, you're just purchasing an experience now.
Yeah.
Good observation. So that brings me experience. Wow, this is brilliant. The segues are amazing. So your favorite moment on a bike, what was it in your lifetime on a bike? What was your most favorite moment? Because you're talking about experience there, so it doesn't have to be an e-bike, but I mean, what was your favorite moment? Like experiences. You're the one living it.
That's a tough question. One of my favorite moments, to be dead honest, were the first bike rides with my son on an SL bike, because it enabled us to ride together. It was so eye-opening before, and whoever has ridden with kids, they're having fun, they always want to jump, the bike is too heavy, in terms of for pedaling uphill, the kids have no power in their legs, or pushing them uphill, you drag them uphill, etc., doing shuttle runs, etc. The moment I built my son an SL extra small. The first bike ride we've done together, it was a 2.5-hour ride. It was a proper mountain bike ride. And it was like, whoa, this was one of the best rides I've done in my life. Just like, hey, eye-opening, it just brings us together. And it's not only, and many people can relate to that, where the e-bike is just enabling people ride together. And it's just, what I just said, it was my son and myself. And other people feel the same, whether it's with their family members, with their friends, etc. You can suddenly bring people together. And that far exceeds emotions I had before. And, wow, this was the best trail in the world. Yes, I've ridden many really good trails with a lot of fun people and a lot of high fives, etc. But looking back, being able to ride with my kids.
It's amazing. I love to put my children in front of me. They've got their full face helmets on and they're So and I just watch them riding, and they're amazing riders. I mean, the oldest one now is probably getting up on non-technical trails. He's getting as fast as me, and just that experience of following them down the trail.
That's pretty cool.
And I keep telling them they're really lucky because they're riding e-bikes, and that's just because got test bikes and stuff. But at the end of the day, it's that experience. Yeah, I mean, they're fortunate. I'm fortunate. You're fortunate. Your son's fortunate. But it's like these experiences show, how well e-bikes connect us all together. Which brings me to my next question. This is incredible. I can't believe we did this. So, can we change the future of transportation globally with e-bikes?
Not entirely, but yes, we can, and we have to. It's the solution for current transportation issues, whether it's combustion engine cars or it's just traffic jams, etc., is not, just to name it, is not a 2.5 ton Tesla. as fun as it is using those cars, there's still sitting one person in it, and you're just consuming energy, and you're just moving 2.5 tons. It's just the bicycle is so much more efficient, move people around, and also it's from a space constraint, parking, etc., etc., etc. A big contribution will come from the bicycle world. It's not the one and only solution, but like I said, a big impact. It's interesting and there's already really good innovation and product development happening over the last, I would say, decade. I mean, just look at what's happening with we call it the active category, the urban, city, etc., transportation category. Look at all the cargo bikes, long tails, but even there's the regular call them city bikes. How many people started using just bicycles again with the addition of electric motors? And we continue to invest in this category. So do others. The infrastructure is growing. Just Switzerland just a couple years ago, last year, signed something of how many millions they put in bicycle infrastructure, etc. And why? Because it's working out. I mean, all the bicycle highways in Germany, Holland is a perfect example.
Because I was in London it's about 6 months ago, and I saw what I would call a bicycle traffic jam.
Yes.
And I was like, what? That's not possible.
Yeah. How cool is that?
People riding into work and back, and they'd created a lane. They'd actually taken a normal two-way road, and they had reduced it by a third.
Nice.
They'd made the cars then drive slower in opposite directions. Yeah. And that third that they'd taken out of the road space, they sort of put on a big barrier, but like a small ridge line, taking it off, and then they put a two-way cycle path on there, and it was like, and the cyclists were flying past the cars, and they'd put a 20-mile-an-hour limit on it for the cars, so the riders, all the bicyclists, were just passing everyone. So,
and that's where I'm coming back to what I said earlier. I think, okay, high level, people getting them out of the car onto the bicycle. It's painful. I'm suffering riding a bike. My butt hurts. It's not comfortable. The protection against the environment, etc. Those are the real problems we should solve. And it's showing people that if you have chosen the right product, the riding position is actually really comfortable. The suffering is gone because we have nice e-bikes. They're easy and intuitive to use. You don't need to be a software programmer in order to use the product. Anti-theft solutions are coming. People are afraid of getting hit by cars. Even today, we equip a bicycle with a rear radar that is informing the car that there's a cyclist because the rear taillight starts blinking like crazy. The rider gets notified there's a car approaching. Like, we're going in the right direction, absolutely. And
that actually is an important question. Again, moving us on to how important is software in all of this? Because some people forget that, like, you're engineers, yeah, you're making like pretty bikes and they look good, but you spend, I mean, I keep referring to it when I talk to you. I remember looking over your shoulder on your computer on your desk. That was on a non-press visit, and it was just me coming and say hello. And you had this graphic with this incredible quantity of data open, and you were just measuring, shall we say, well, you're looking at all the different events, as you call them, that took place in your ride, and then you can make software changes on that. Now, it sounds like a big thing, because if you've got radar integrated, you've got all these things going on. How important is software?
All of that would be impossible without software. It's like I said, motors and batteries, at some point, it's all the same. Frame geometry, yes, you can wiggle here and there. Frame color, yes, it's going to change every year. We're going from extreme to just dark black again. But defining experiences and making components benefit from each other and talk to each other is impossible without investing into software. And I mean, this is where also the big investment here is happening. Do I believe that the next generation of carbon fiber that is 20% stronger will make a move in our industry? Maybe for road, but not for this problem here. And it's designing experiences that give true rider benefits. And with riders, I mean also the city rider, the trekking rider, all the users, and to design that experience that goes way beyond the physical product, way beyond. And that's and it includes even the ability to service the product. At some point, each of the product need a service. So when the product comes in for service, the ability that you mentioned data, the ability that the product itself has collected data in the past 12 to 24 months, what needs to be done. Then the service technician plugs in a computer and just sees exactly, okay, this and this and this needs to be done. And in 45 minutes, boom, out of the door, and the bike is good again for 2 years. Impossible without the properly designed software architecture, data background, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Nice thing here, I'm referring back to our setup, all of that is done in-house. It was a lot of investment. It was a lot of effort. We've learned a lot. But that gives us the ability to actually use all the ingredients, design the ingredients to our needs. So we're not relying on any outside parties and they're doing things and we can't do things. So
that's pretty true, because when I talk about motors on the market, one of the things I've always sort of said, there's many motor brands out there really, but I kind of consider there's kind of 4 or 5 main ones, and I call Specialized as one of the motor brands, which is I mean, you're like, well, hang on a minute, how can you say that for just one company? But because, I mean, a lot of that's to do with software. And, you know, it's good. I mean, it's a question. Would you be able to literally, like in a theoretical world, download software from one motor, put it onto another motor, and the motor would just work? I mean, the same, or...
You mean like from a Bosch to a Yamaha?
Yeah, you could just copy it across. It wouldn't work.
No, it doesn't.
So there is a lot of innovation within the software relative to the hardware. That's what, not just the hardware.
Yes.
Does make
I mean, here's the thing. Software, those are just characters on the screen telling a microprocessor what to do. So when we talk about innovation in software, it's not the programming language becomes better. Software is just the gears connecting machines. So the innovation comes from the people that actually design experiences and have those ideas. Hey, we should do this and this and this. Then you write it down and then you give it to the team, and they use software to implement that. So software is not the solution. Software is actually just a tool to tell the machine what to do. Gears and lubrication is the software, but the actual software just does what you tell software to do. Software doesn't solve things for you. The innovation, like I said, the idea creation, etc., that happens somewhere else, and software is just a tool to implement it.
Would there become a time where I could like pick up my phone and say to my phone, I'm going to go for a mountain bike ride, I'm going to climb this mountain, then the bike would just set all its settings and I don't have to say anything more than that, and I'll just be able to ride up the hill and it'll be perfectly set up?
If you enjoy talking to your phone, the time maybe, I mean, that actually we could do today. I mean, we have in Mission Control app, we have Smart Control. You can already today say, I'm riding for 2 hours. I'm planning to climb 1,000 meter and hit start. To turn this into a voice command, that's trivial. We just have chosen not to do it so far.
Okay.
But the user benefit of you telling the product, I'm about to do a 2-3 hour ride, I'm about to climb 1,500 meter, just go in auto mode. This is done today in Mission Control. Yes, we may have to do a better job explaining it to people. We may have to do, and the algorithm in the background isn't perfect, but it's actually really damn good. Coming back to AutoSec, it gets to the 90%. Adding voice command is I think it's awkward talking to a phone.
I've got one picky question, which I'm being geeky now. I've noticed, and I meant to ask you a long time ago, I've noticed that the new TCU, or whatever, master control unit, which is the screen.
Yeah, the mastermind TCU.
Yeah. It even calculates your altitude that you've pedaled without being connected to a phone. So how does it do that? Is there a GPS in the bike? What's going on? Or is that just guessing?
The secret. No, it's pretty simple. It's a pressure sensor that is in the unit.
Okay.
So it's a barometric pressure sensor that we have in the unit. We're actually measuring the altitude on the device. Somebody would now say, well, you're measuring the pressure inside the tube, but the bicycle has so many holes, it works actually really well. Having it said, how do we calibrate this? We're using GPS location of the phone to actually calibrate altitude and timing every time you connect the phone to the bike. So there is a calibration happening. Coming back to your question, is there a GPS sensor in the TCU Mastermind? The answer is no. We fully rely on the GPS location of the phone, because if you're into recording, etc., you have your phone with you anyway. I mean, I encourage people to bring their phones, because if they break their neck, you better have a tool to call somebody. So
interesting. So in theory, because here's getting really techie now. So you have the Angie system for the people riding. So for safety, you can have it on your helmet. So if you fall off, it makes an automatic call. Can that calibrate with the bike at the same time? And you can build software to do that. So it can confirm if the rider's fallen off or he's dropped his helmet, the bike is still fine because it hasn't fallen over. Mm-hmm. I mean, you can do all of that, I assume.
Yeah. So what Angie does, Angie monitors acceleration, but also the angle movement of your head. And if you exceed a certain rotation of your head and a certain impact of your head, it is considered trouble. And that it is utilizing the phone in the pocket again, it is sending a text message to some emergency contact. The difference of doing that on the helmet or doing that on the bike is, if your bike crashes, we don't know what the head is doing. So we could identify at some point, there's trouble for the bike. But in this case, we focus on trouble for the rider. And that's where Angie is really strong, because and I'm not the expert here, but what has been shown in various studies is it's actually not the side impact on the helmet, it's the angular rotation of the head. That's where also like MIPS and all the MIPS helmet equipped things are actually really strong, because they prevent your helmet to rotate super fast. So that's where Angie is strong. Now, what you said, could we also look at a combination of what's happening to the helmet and the bike? Yes. And there's actually, there's
Have I just given away an innovation that's coming soon?
Yeah, there's tons of ideas on how you could combine all these. I'm coming down to, we have limited resources. We have to focus on what are we doing and what are we not doing. But I'm coming back to software. if we would combine multiple things, that is where software enables us to do things. Software is not the solution. Software is an enabler. And if there is something where we can really detect, I mean, it's just trivial. As long as if the bicycle is still moving after such an impact, I guess the rider is still on the bike. Like things like that.
I remember the time you hit the tree straight on. And
I've hit a tree straight on with you on the trail. I've broken my fork. In that case, the bike was in trouble. I was
laughing.
I hurt my wrist, but my brain hopefully was actually still okay. So the combination of both, we could maybe improve it, but right now we've chosen to spend the effort somewhere else.
I mean, I love cycling. The more I cycle, the more I want to cycle, and I've spent quite a lot of time focusing on the urban side of it recently because it's so important. And I see software being an important part of, say, smart cities.
Yeah.
All of this, exactly where you're going, and what you're doing. Isn't that like a little stepping over the limit because not everybody wants to be followed about everything. You know what I mean? So, would in your designs as you go forward, would you always have the ability to say, hey, you can turn all of this off and just hit off?
Yes. So this is where me personally and a lot of the teammates here share the same opinion. We do not want to create game consoles. A lot of people, the reason why they go out to ride a bicycle is they want to disconnect from the digital world. It's the 2-hour Sunday morning. You just want to go out in nature. It sounds stupid, but you want to smell the forest. You want to ride the trail, and you don't want to be surrounded with another computer telling you what to do, another computer that crashes and causes issue. You want to fiddle around with the phone. I just want to go out and ride. So we need to be extremely careful of all those features. If the feature crashes, what is the consequence for the ride? B, like, how many people are annoyed by that? I mean, that's the whole thing. Like, we do not have displays on the handlebar. Not why we believe displays are not belong on the handlebar, but just because there's a customization you want to do. You don't want to be distracted by a lot of these things. It's one thing is the gamification, as fun as it is. We need to be 100% sure that people that want to escape Sunday morning, they can still relax out in the nature. The other thing is privacy. I don't want to be tracked by all my components and want to see like the whole I'm just sharing at my house. There is no Siri and Alexa that listens to me. It's all deactivated. I don't want them to listen. I don't have anything to hide, but it's just
yeah.
And this is where there's a fine line. We cannot by default turn everything on, be the master spy on everything. So, I mean, what we're doing today, the product, and this is public knowledge, the product is monitoring itself on product, on failures, error messages, etc. There's an error log, same as cars are doing. So when you go in service, you can see, listen, your motor had this and this issue, your display had this issue, it needs to be replaced. That is to the rider benefit. But we don't know if it turned left or right at the church. Like, we're not tracking that, and we don't care. There's other things where if you don't like it, just don't use it. You can turn it off. We enable people to track their rides with mission control and just upload it to various platforms. But that is just optional. That's very important. If you do not want to be tracked, we do not force you to track. It's all optional add-ons. So at the bare minimum, there's a power button, you turn it on, and you just go on a ride, and you don't care about anything else. This experience must stay alive for all categories. Road, mountain, city, urban, active, very, very important.
In fact, I can second that because I had a specialized test bike for a while actually, and then and for some reason I had I didn't use the app. I couldn't be bothered. I didn't use the app. I just rode it, And then I had to use the app for some reason, and it wouldn't work. It wouldn't connect. And I was just like, well, this is annoying. And I was getting really annoyed.
Exactly.
And then I called you, and you said, oh, you've got a prototype app. You should
Yes,
update
I had
it.
your version. I remember.
So I was like, oh, okay.
Yes.
And then I did, and I realized, oh, okay. But it just proved that even I had it for months, that bike, and I never touched the app, and it was fine. The bike,
And you don't
I
have
didn't
to.
need do anything. Yeah.
Our ecosystem is designed so the majority of those additional features and modules are all optional. You can take the bike out of the box. It needs to be set up once and entered in our ecosystem just to make sure that we're not in factory mode anymore. And then just ride it. It's okay. And if you want more features, you use them. If you don't want them, just don't use them. It's very, very, very important.
Interesting. So, Jan, I covered quite a lot, and I'm just always grateful to have you as one of my fact checkers. I call it a fact checker.
I just give you my opinion. It might not be true, but
Nah, but come on. I mean, I love to, when a product's been released, I love to send you a picture of whatever it is, including your own bikes, and say, hey, what's this? And you give me an opinion. And it's a brilliant fact check. In fact, you asked me a really hard question. You said to me, what do you want in your next e-bike?
Exactly.
And I was just there like, oh my God, how do I answer that?
Yeah. What is the next Levo?
Yeah.
What is the next Vado Como? It's hard.
Yeah.
It's easy to point out things that are not perfect for the application today.
Yeah.
But actually to predict what shall we do in the next 5 years, it's hard.
Yeah. It's interesting.
But it's fun.
I mean, the latest one to come out is ABS, and I'm like, I haven't tried it yet, and I'm interested on the off-road. On the on-road, I've tried it. It makes sense for certain situations. Off-road, I'm there like, ooh, this is an interesting idea. Does it work? Is it necessary? And I asked the motorbike crowd, and they'll say, yes, it's necessary, even off-road. But we're not riding motorbikes, we're riding pedal cycles. So that's my next innovation to try. And I'm sure you guys have already had a play with it. But I mean, it's, yeah, I mean, there's always something. I don't personally, but maybe I'm not. Do we need it? The question. Do you ever get that question? Do we really need this? And then you just say, no, let's not bother. Let's just stop this yearly changeovers, because I notice you've lengthened the process between one product and the next now. It's gone from like 2 to 3 years now.
I mean, it's do we need this? We need to be extremely careful not adding everything to the bike that we can. It's like ornaments you hang to the Christmas tree.
Yeah.
The prettiest Christmas tree is not the ones that has the most amount of ornaments. It needs to be the right amount and just the right amount for the application. ABS is an interesting one. It's I truly believe in adding rider safety in general. We talked earlier, people are afraid of riding bicycles because they're afraid of crashing. Yeah. Sadly, the ABS technology so far is from a price point still for certain customers expensive. In the mountain bike category, it's impressive. My personal opinion, would I have it on my personal bike? I am torn. Ooh. I'm just, this is not, now it's me speaking, not Specialized. Okay. I am torn for my personal bike because part of why I am riding mountain bike is I want to challenge myself. And I am okay sliding over the front wheel. And I'm just like, damn, Jan, you screwed up, do better. And just I do it again until I'm able to corner without crashing. And I think it's part of why people ride, because they want this challenge.
We want to get loose, don't we? We want that.
If we want to get loose, it's okay. On the other side, we want the best tire, we want the dropper post, we want the brake control. ABS is one in between. We do not want a tricycle. Like a tricycle would make a better platform. We would crash maybe less. I don't know, but then ABS is in between. Time will tell. I applaud for the engineers working on it in the background. I mean, Bosch has just presented the mountain bike version of an ABS. I'm just lifting my head. It's a good job. Fantastic. So it's great. These things are just, sometimes they're getting asked, will we ever be at a dead end of development? I mean, just no. It's a perfect example. It will continue.
Just keep going.
All right. Job security.
Well, we've done almost an hour now, so I think we could stop going. And I'm going to just say thank you and your time. And obviously your socials, you're not social because you're the engineer at the company, you know. So we just say specialized.com to find out what the latest products are. No? Is that enough? I assume?
That's enough. Or any of our channels.
And just know to everybody watching that, you know, this is the man behind the concepts and the ideas, or one of the two men. Marco, we've got to get Marco.
Clown on the
Maybe
stage.
not next time, but we'll get him on next. You know, it'll be interesting to see what he has to say as well. So, but yeah, so I just really appreciate your time, Jan, and it's great to just go over all those concepts that we've.
Alex, thank you very, very much. Thanks for whoever has listened. I hope it was an entertaining conversation. Just go out and ride your bike. Keep riding bikes. I think that's the shared passion we have here. It doesn't matter what motor, what battery, on-road, off-road. We share a fantastic hobby. And as long as we keep doing this, we're having fun.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Electric Bike Action Podcast. For the latest reviews and information, visit electricbikeaction.com, subscribe to our podcast on iTunes or Stitcher or Google or wherever you get your podcasts, and give us a rating and review to help spread the word about e-bikes. You can also email me at tonyd@hightorque.com. That's TONYD @hi-torque.com. I'm happy to answer questions and would love to hear your experiences and adventures on e-bikes. This podcast is powered by Callcast.